So I kind of made it my New Year's resolution to do some more creative collaborations. I'm kind of an introvert. I like to just stay up here in the studio and do my own thing. But this year I'm kind of challenging myself to work with other artists. And so I've been actually working with an artist named Emma Geiger on a track called Can It Be? Literally, while I was working on this track, this piece of software, this tool called Highnote came across my desk and I had to check it out. And it's so interesting because honestly, I see a lot of things like this all the time, but this actually blew me away. I'm going to show you everything that this thing does, but it's amazing for collaborations. And I know that most of our audience members are record label owners or artists who are involved with record labels. This is an incredible tool for not only artists and creatives to work together, but for record labels to kind of be involved in the entire album and single creation process with their artists. Anyway, I'm going to show you everything. I think it's really cool. And there's some cool stuff in here too that is like behind the scenes that I think is really valuable for record labels that aren't included in some of the, what you might think this is used for. Okay, enough me talking. Let me just show you. So this tool is called Highnote. And basically, it's kind of like a marriage between SoundCloud and Dropbox in the sense that we are working on a song and we want to share versions of that song with the people that we're working with, whether our manager, artists, producers, creatives, record labels, whatever. And then those people like to speak into the mix and say, I think you should tweak this or try this or blah, blah, blah. And so this is a tool to make that process a lot easier. Normally, I'm just sharing Dropbox links and then my collaborators are saying, at 3 minutes and 22 seconds, there's a guitar part that I think you should change to this, blah, blah, blah. This tool kind of solves all of that. Okay, so as you see inside, we have our library, basically the projects that we're currently working on. There's a demo collection right now that you get to see how it works, but we're going to create a new project from scratch. So Highnote might refer to your album or your new single or EP as a space. So we're going to click new space and we're going to call it, the song I'm working on is a song called Can It Be? And I'll give a little description here, new, Scott, or single. This is literally a track that we were working on with Emma Geiger. Okay, let's grab artwork, which is really nice because we have artwork on the go. Artwork, great. Now let's upload the audio. Okay, so as you can see here, we have what's kind of like our album, right? So we know this is just a single. So this album is just going to be called a single and it's only going to have one song. So let's click on this. But if you were doing an album, obviously you'd have multiple tracks and you can comment on each track. Okay, this is the basics of Highnote. So let's take a look at this. We see the artwork, then we see the WAV file, which is very similar to how Dropbox shows us a waveform or SoundCloud. And even on SoundCloud, you can, or people can comment. This is different. So let's say you listen to the song, my collaborator's listening to this song. They can easily click anywhere throughout the song. Now, here's where the collaboration comes in. Let's say they want to comment it. So they take this text, they drag it to where in the song they wanted to make a note, and they say, I really like this build up. I can't spell. Save. Or if I'm sending this song to Emma, I'm going to say, because this is my account, I'm going to say, I'll drag text here and I'll say, what do you think of this build up? Is it big enough? Great. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's pretty cool, right? And those comments stay there. One other feature that is kind of nice to have, because you don't want to have your whole dialogue around this track littering the WAV file, you can also start a chat. So here opens a column where I can say, tell me your thoughts on how things are sounding. This might not be something I want to add to the WAV file, or if there's multiple versions that are happening, this chat will stay the same. It doesn't have to be attached to each version. Okay, let's close the chat. Another cool thing I really like is this voice memo. So let's say I drag the voice memo here, then I press record and I can talk into the mic and record something. Now my mic is actually connected to something else, so it doesn't work here for me, but I see huge value in this. So many times in the studio when I'm working with an artist, I'm like, actually, here's what I have in mind for that hi-hat part. And I have to sing it. Or if I want the snare to sound a certain way, you make that disgusting sound with your voice to describe how you want a snare to sound in a mix. I won't do that for you now. But there's so many examples where like just singing something or even just saying something with like a little bit more sensitivity to say, actually really love this part, but maybe, you know what I mean? So I love that idea that you can include voice memos in here. That is so cool. Or if I'm in the studio, I'm far away, I might even just grab my guitar and play the part or play the drum part and allow the person to recreate it on their end. So cool. Then we have polls. Here's what's really cool. Okay, so let's go to the ending here. So let's say we're listening to the mix. And I'm going to put a poll here. And I'm going to say, how do you think we should end this song? Regular ending or a fade out? I love fade outs. Okay, so now I could press save and somebody could read that and then they could vote on what they like. And so if we're working with band members and people from the record label and producers, then everybody can vote. Maybe we get some sort of consensus, whatever. And or you can also add audio clips. So let's edit this poll and let's add an example of what I'm talking about. So here's the regular ending I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add a fade out ending. I've created a mix so that they can hear both versions. So for example, here is the regular ending. You can even see in the WAV file. It just sort of dissipates. Or here's the fade out ending. So now I've given like a 60-second clip of what the regular ending is, where the music just dissipates, or where we do some sort of unnatural fade out and you vote. Listening to that now, I think I probably would prefer option A. So let me see if I can vote. I'm voting option A. Okay, so that's really cool. Let's move on. One of my favorite things about this is nuts, is adding different versions. And so when you're working on a track, a song like this, you might do a version where the vocals are louder, or a version where the vocals are quiet, or the drums are louder, or maybe you take the drums out altogether and you replace it with a drum machine. Lots of different ways you can go. So let's say I add a version. In my case, I'm going to add a version without the vocals. I'll tell you why. Because this was just a singer that I was working with here, this wasn't like a true collaborator where we were kind of speaking into the mixes. I was kind of just working on the track. But for me, it was nice to have a version where I have the vocals and then a version where I don't have the vocals because, well, my music sounds better without my voice in it, but that's a different story. That's my own problem. But when I'm listening to the mix, sometimes I want the vocals out of the way just so I can make sure I hear everything that's happening in the background. I always will test my mixes as an instrumental version and just listen to it multiple times just so that the vocals don't mask anything. Okay, so watch what I'm talking about. Let's listen to my vocal version. Now, because the non-vocal version is the exact same length and I mixed it down from the same spot just with the vocals muted, you can then seamlessly slip between both and hear it without. And so if you're sampling what this might sound like without a drum machine or without drums or with the vocals louder, you can actually get a really good read on it without having to listen to a mix in Dropbox, then remember what you thought when the vocals were too loud, then listen to the second mix and see if you like that one better. Watch how seamless this is. Isn't that incredible? What a cool tool. So I would totally use that as a way. I mean, when you're in Pro Tools, sometimes you're soloing or muting some instruments, and that's a good way to do it. But I also like if I were to add a reverb to a whole bus, or I were to do some cool little things, maybe like I'm doing a multiple different tweaks to a mix, and I'm just not sure, like, do I like this overall reverb or whatever? It's kind of cool to be able to like seamlessly bounce through between a couple different versions. Anyway, I think that's really cool. By the way, I forgot to show you how easy it is to share this. So I click share up here. So basically I can create a link here, copy link. I can allow comments, uploads, and different tiers allow for downloads as well, which is really cool. Also, it's great that when you're clicking around to other projects, the song you're listening to is still playing. There's a couple other things I really think are cool. So when I go back to the main single, which is kind of like an EP, but in this case, it's just one song, we can also add some really helpful assets. So if you're sharing this page with people on your team, on your record label, or other members in the band, you can include stuff that aren't audio files. I think this is like a hidden little Easter egg that I think is really valuable. For example, I can attach lyrics, and we'll call it, Can It Be Lyrics? I can attach a press photo. I think that's a really, really cool feature because when you're working on a track, as you get closer to the finish line, there are a lot of these tools that you don't only want to share the audio files with people on your team, but showing some of the promotional assets as well is really cool. Let's say I also add the album cover. Even though we have it there, we can make it so that you can download it. So watch this. I go back to the the share feature. I turn off comments because I'm now going to create a press page. This is a Highnote. This is like a Highnote special feature that I really love. I'm going to turn off uploads as well. I'm going to turn off downloads as well. So what's cool about this is you're creating like a private page, and some tiers will even allow you to create a password and to change some of the things that visitors are allowed to do. And what's great about this tool, or the application that I could see for this tool, especially for record labels, is creating essentially free press pages using this tool. So I click copy link. So here's a promotional tool that you can use to send to curators and bloggers to share your song. You can also include some of the press features that we mentioned, like lyrics and album cover and press photo. I think this is a nice little Easter egg to have. And they can click on it and listen right away. Oh, another cool thing I forgot to mention, let's go back to the song. Look, you can select resolution down here. So you can do high, I've uploaded waves. You can go to original, which plays the song at the original wave version. And then you can go standard, which will play a lower quality version if you're on not so great Wi-Fi. That's a big deal because a lot of mix engineers or artists who want to critique a mix or to listen to something specifically, if they're on great Wi-Fi, they want to hear the original wave version. That's really great. There's some other cool features with this too. It actually works on mobile, and songs can play in the background as well in case your screen goes off. So that's really handy. I like to take some of my mixes out in the car or on a walk, and so I like being able to hear different versions. I just think this is really cool. Like I said, I'm trying to collaborate a lot more. I do this kind of thing all the time. One of the things I do when I'm working on a mix is I like to take it into bed, or I like to take it out of the studio, even if it's on my laptop in a coffee shop or somewhere else. I like to listen to a song in a different environment. I feel like I listen with different ears, and I either like things more or I like things less. I hear different things. That's just me. I'm weird like that. This is one of those tools that come around, and I'm being serious here. This is one of those tools that come around where you're like, oh, why doesn't this exist before? And it's one of those times where it's like, some really great features of like multiple tools that we've used, like the press pages I've talked about. There's other tools for that. Or if it's just getting feedback on mixes, you could use SoundCloud. Or if it's sharing high-res files, you could use Google Drive or Dropbox. And so I think this is incredible when a tool comes along and brings all those things together in one application. Anyway, I think it's amazing. There's links down below where you can check it out. You really have to try this. They have like a free option that includes like up to 50 gigs of storage and so many other interesting features. I think that's pretty cool. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this, and if you've tried it out. I highly suggest you try it out, especially for some of our record label friends who are getting involved with the creative process or want to be more involved with the creative process of their artists. I think that record labels should inspire and encourage and help artists be more prolific and be more creative. And I think tools like this help them do that. Thanks for watching.